Oh no, what to do? I hacked into the president's account and learned something super secret, and this event changed my life forever. Hi everyone, I'm Ava, and I'm from Moldova. Now I'll tell you about how one day I accidentally managed to hack into the account of the president of the country. Okay, one of the former ones, but that's not the point. What I learned there shocked not only me, but it also affected my entire future. My mother worked as a cook in that house for many years, and so did my grandmother. As I grew up, my mother was already preparing me for the same position, which was already the third generation in the family. Of all the servants, for some reason, the president treated me with great awe. This is because I was born and raised in the house as a true, devoted servant. His granddaughter, Evelina, periodically visited him. She hated me, just like I hated her. And then one day, she deliberately broke the owner's favorite vase. It was presented to him by an old friend from Germany. The item was so valuable. I knew about it and immediately ran inside. Instead of apologizing, Evelina shouted, "Grandfather, look what she's done! This is awful! Your favorite vase!" My legs buckled from fear. How could she? It wasn't me. Honestly, it wasn't me. I tried to justify myself, but the owner just frowned silently and ordered me into his office. This meant a serious conversation. When he entered, I was already standing there and trembling all over from fear.
"Don't be afraid, it's all right. I know Evelina did it,"
he said. What? Seriously? I exhaled in relief and then asked him why he called me into his office. He then asked for my help.
"You know I'm an old man and I don't understand these things, but my German friend wants to talk via a video link. Please help me to set up my social network."
Seriously? I thought, and just agreed. When I got onto his laptop, I opened the desired page and a password was required. Maybe I just knew him too well, but I managed to guess the password within 3 attempts since he didn't remember it. He himself was surprised at my hacking abilities. And then someone called him and he left the office, and private messages with his German friend opened up in front of me. Everything should have been fine, but suddenly photos of my mother and even my grandmother popped up. It was weird. What were they doing there? And a minute later, I saw the truth. My legs gave out again, my heart raced, and then the president came in.
"What's wrong with you, Ava?"
Are you my grandfather?" The president immediately approached me and saw that the evidence was irrefutable. I had such a mess in my head. He immediately told me to remain silent, admitting that he and my grandmother had once had an affair, and my mother still didn't know who her father is. My grandmother has long since been retired and lives in another country, as per his request. My hands were shaking. A lump formed in my throat. How could I live with a secret? And then the president offered me a bribe for my silence. Firstly, he allocated my mother and me a separate house on the territory with all amenities, where only the two of us would live. He raised my mother's salary and promised a monthly bonus. He secretly bought me architecture courses and promised to help me get through college. At first, I rejoiced. I was so excited by the clothes he bought with his money, phones, and trips to beauty salons. But then, everything became clear. Evelina developed a special attitude. At first, the mean girl tried to spoil the food cooked by my mother, scratched his cars, stole everything from me, ruined expensive roses in the garden, and blamed everything on my mother. There was no reaction from the president, and it infuriated her even more. One day, there was a special reception at the house. A German friend of the president arrived. He gave a bunch of gifts to all the family members, and when everyone left for the dining room, he unexpectedly gave my mother a super beautiful scarf, saying what kind of delicious dishes she'd made him. Mom was pleasantly surprised. But Evelina, seeing this gesture, went berserk. She took the gift from my mother and shouted, "You don't deserve this! Have you heard about it? You were born a servant, and you'll die as one." Anger boiled up in me, but my mother, instead of putting this bastard in her place, simply bowed and asked for her forgiveness. "For what? She's your aunt by status. She has the same rights as you, mean girl!" I screamed. I grabbed the scarf, twisted it in my hands, and threw it around Evelina's neck, and then threw her on the floor. Evelina screamed as if she'd been hurt. The president and his friend pulled us apart. The servants were in shock. My mother begged for them to excuse my behavior, and I was breathing in anger like a dragon. I was already preparing to shout again that I was his granddaughter, just like Evelina, and then something unexpectedly happened. "You love her more than me, Grandpa!" shouted Evelina.
What? What are you talking about, honey?
Everyone knows, and my mother and grandmother too. This is your daughter, and this is your granddaughter, and you've always loved them more. Why? Mom became ill. I brought her water and set her in a chair. All members of the family were standing nearby. It seems that only my mother and the other servants didn't know about this secret. Now I understood why Evelina hated me so much. After this incident, my mother and I could no longer stay there, and the president bought us a house in another country, where we went forever. However, he still comes to visit us from time to time, and he asked me not to tell anyone about it. Hello, everyone. I'm Gracie, and one day my mom sold me to the royal family. In fact, we already knew them many years ago. Just at some point, life threw us into poverty and they forgot about us. But then this family unexpectedly offered me a job to pretend in public that I was their adopted daughter, for which they promised a generous fee. Mom and I thought about everything and made a decision. A couple of days later, I arrived at this pretentious mansion in Britain. The main condition was not to communicate with my mother, and in every possible way to show how happy I was to live in their exemplary family. They tried to show themselves off by adopting a girl from a dysfunctional family. In the meantime, we, smiling, gave interviews, but behind the scenes, inside the house, things were completely different. Food flew at me. Once broccoli got stuck in my hair. My stepmother threw it at me. She was angry that in the pictures next to me, she looked old, as if that was my fault. My stepfather stupidly ignored all my questions, and then their daughter, my ex-friend Holly, well, she was, to put it mildly, a bitch. I knew that Holly was terribly jealous. Even as a child, she had everything a girl could dream of. Beautiful dresses, shoes, phones, a chic room, and a bunch of professional photos. But we had something in common. We both loved to dress up, to paint, to dress. It brought us closer. Of course, now I borrowed her dresses, but they suited both of us. She always said the makeup perfectly hides the puffiness of her face and under her eyes due to the poor functioning of both her kidneys. You have a lot of money. Why don't you just get a transplant? You'd be surprised, Grace, but even with the kind of money my family has, you can't just go out and find a donor. There is one person in mind, though. It seems that her DNA matches mine perfectly, and the risk of rejection is minimal. Wow, who's that? For now, I can't say. It's confidential. I felt sorry for her at some point, and I became her friend again. While we were reestablishing our connection, screams and beatings continued in the house. Yes, her parents fought each other. At first I was surprised, but then I just got used to it. Holly watched the whole process. We entered the monitoring room with cameras installed throughout the home. I asked, "Do you have access here?" And Holly said, "Yeah, I'm watching everything around here. I watch to see which parent is wrong. I made my own keys a long time ago. They don't even know I always carry them in my pocket." Meanwhile, my mother, as I was told, received a fee for me, and I was given branded items. But all this didn't compensate for my loneliness in this frenzied family. I was saved only by our long-thought-out plan, to which I aspired. Now I'll tell you about it. During the next quarrel, I saw how in the owner's office, he again swore at his wife. She demanded money. He opened the safe and took out several fat packs. Wow, I said to myself. How much money was in there? The hostess took them and left the room while I hid around the corner. Then my friend came up behind me. Damn, it wasn't good that she caught me there. But Holly didn't guess anything. She just began to cry, worrying about her parents. First, I took my stepmother to her room, and then my friend to hers, and brought her a drink. And then I took tea to my stepfather. Both fell asleep soundly after 10 minutes. Great, my sleeping pills worked. I stole the keys to the monitoring room from Holly's pocket and erased the extra tapes, left the right one, and turned off the cameras. Then I returned the keys and stole almost all the money. I took them back to the car, which was already parked at the house. It was my mom. "Mom, I'm here. Open the door. Are you all set?" Of course, the parents quarreled. The stepmom was dumped. There is a video of them arguing, and he pulls out the money and gives it to her. After their loss, if they threaten us, I'll show what kind of real relationship they have in the family for the entire press. Their daughter's so dumb that she gave me all the passwords for the cameras and showed me where the keys are. My girl, sit down. And then something incredible happened. We left, but we were abruptly slowed down on the territory of the mansion. The stepmother was on the road. She was smiling, and Holly and her father came out from behind her. They showed me another camera that I didn't know about, where everything was shown as it was. My heart sank. What do you need? My stepmother came up to us, stood by the car, and said,
You thought you were the smartest here? Do you think we hired you for PR? Ha! How stupid! We don't need that, but what we do need is your kidney. Everyone will now think that you decided to give it away in gratitude to our family. That's all, dear. We don't mind that you stole our money. Let your mother take it. It's the price for a healthy kidney for our Holly. You wanted to cheat? It didn't work out. Horror pierced me to the bone. They pulled me out of the car, and the worst thing is that my mother just left. Now I'm sitting locked up, contemplating a new plan. I hope to see you guys again. Give me a like and wish me luck. Knock, knock. It seems they're coming after me.